Well, speaking of the new album, because you guys have always been sort of a moving target. Whatever you think Avenged is on this album, the next one's probably going to be something different. And this album, along with the stage, to me, feels like this is the prog era. But I don't think that this album, which you sent me a while ago, so I've had the chance to listen to the whole thing. This album definitely does feel different to me from the stage, especially like the second half of it, which almost has this kind of like funky undercurrent. Do you know what I mean? Which is something I never thought I would hear from you guys. But it works.
I love that you use that word because that's going to be the headline now. New album, funky. And think about what that word is going to like make people think. Like they're going to be like, oh my God, like what is this? I've sent it to a few people. The thing I keep getting back is like Abbey Road-esque. It's just different. It's got a bunch of flavors and colors. We don't stay too long anywhere. It's like kind of like it's in and out. It's a different mindset, completely reworked from what we think of as records and how they should be made. And what I mean by that is like the stage is a sprawling sort of vibe the whole time. It's got a thing going on. But this one we were like, we want to express ideas quickly and more concise. And we want to do things, we want to use different ways that we're using our instruments. Like a lot of people think the record's full of samples or even nobody, but there aren't any. That's all stuff we went in there and actually crafted ourselves. Again, you're getting back to that expert culture where they're like, this is what this is. And that's what that is. It's like, nope, not even close. But you've got 80,000 followers that now think that's what it is because you told them it was, and it's not right. Which is what it is. But I think this record is, it is Beatles-esque in the way that it's trying to do a bunch of different things and have a bunch of different flavors. That's what I'll say. There is some,
I mean, there's a couple thrash metal songs, and then there's these almost like funky R&B kind of songs, but it still feels like one cohesive thing. Yeah,
it's life is but a dream, man. It's a trip. It's a lot of things without going too deep, because I know people will take some of this and just really worry themselves. They'll be very worried. I think I just want people to sit down and listen to it. And I want them to just be shocked, take it in, be happy, smile, feel uncomfortable. There's all sorts of flavors on it. Right. And I think it'll be interesting when it comes out. Super proud of it. I love it. But the stage was one sort of vibe. Right. And the vibe on this one is that you can't really get locked in anywhere. It's kind of always making left turns on you.
Yeah. And I'm not one to typically suggest this, but it is something you need to listen to as an album. Like there's those 3 songs that kind of go together. Yeah. This is not a singles kind of album.
No. And that's why it was so hard to figure out what to go with first, because there's really nothing that represents everything. And I think it all works together. But I think if you were to pull anything, you're really going to be left with a lot of questions regardless. So you kind of just got to go, okay, well, we live in a world where people want to hear something first. So here's this. But really the big payoff's going to be when the record comes out, in my opinion.
I think it's really interesting. You know, most bands that have been around for as long as you guys have, over 20 years now, you know, typically that's the part of their career where they start kind of, you know, most people run out of ideas and kind of get naturally, I think it's common to get stalled out at that point in your career. But you guys just keep getting more and more experimental with age. Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think it's maybe a reaction to the philosophy and being involved in this business and seeing everybody treat what is supposed to be art. It's supposed to be an expression of who you are. It's supposed to be like, I want to know what's inside you. I want to know what you're feeling. And it becomes, what's radio playing these days? How do we get around the algorithm? And how do we like get more eyes on this? How do we get outside of our fan base and go wider? How do we sell no one buys records anymore. How do we sell more merch? And how do we, do this? And it becomes everything except the art. And then when you see a bunch of established bands that are totally cool with phoning it in or writing the same thing, and then we go in the studio and we're like completely almost like nauseous thinking about picking up a guitar and doing the same thing we've already done, or singing something the same way, or doing the same sort of thing and go like, oh, that's kind of like that. And that worked before. It makes us sick. And so then we just start reacting to that and we start going, okay, well, what do we want to do? And then it's like, well, that made me feel weird. That was interesting. That transition is so broken that it's rad. Like, leave that. Or that made me smile. And so then you start getting these little like sort of, I guess, pieces that all of a sudden create a greater whole of this, what the hell am I listening to kind of thing. And we want that feeling. And I've always wanted to be in the position where, and people talk a big game. Well, if we ever get big, we're going to keep doing what we want to do. And that changes. Right. I've always wanted to be in the position to say, no, we're going to just keep doing what we want to do. And I don't care what the repercussions are, because once it's out in the world, let people live with it. Let it simmer. Let people feel a certain way. I think that's more valuable than people all going, yeah, this is cool, man. This is right where you left off. Cool, man. Like, oh, you're number one on Octane. This is awesome, man. Like, let's post about how many, singles we have that are successful. Like, let's talk about our success. Art shouldn't even be successful. Art should make people feel something. And art, like, so if you want to draw the line of like, okay, we're just a band. We just want to be successful. We want to make money and we want to bang chicks. That's cool. But that's not what Avenged Sevenfold's about. Like, we want to like push the limits. We want to stand outside your box, and we want to make you think a little differently, because that's where we are at in our minds anyways.